One of the interesting factors that has been affecting the toy and movie industry over the past few years is the desire of filmmakers to hold things back. Probably the best example, of course, is little baby Yoda. Okay, I know his name is Grogu, but come on, everyone knows him as Baby Yoda. I mean, even the frickin' media calls him Baby Yoda. And there was a lot of, bell ringing and handshaking and pearl grasping of the fact that there was very little Baby Yoda merchandise for the first year because deliberately, it wasn't that they were caught off guard, sorry media, it was because the filmmakers deliberately wanted to keep Baby Yoda a secret so that you had a wow moment, because toys reveal secrets all the time. Case in point, the Batman Mask of the Phantasm, probably one of the worst offenders ever, when the main villain was packed out without her mask on, revealing the giant surprise at the end of the movie in the toy aisle. So to combat things like this, toy lines more and more are restricted by the licensor, by the IP owner, from what they can put in a toy line. But it's interesting how this can actually have a counter effect. So, as an example, with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, the fact that Wanda was going to be, spoiler alert everyone, alright, everyone leave the room, spoiler alert, Wanda was going to be the villain. Tried to warn you, come on, the movie's like months old now. Spoiler alert, Darth Vader's Luke's father. Alright, so we didn't get a Wanda figure in the Marvel Legends Doctor Strange 2 line. I mean, granted, there were a few Titan series figures of Wanda, etc., but there was a perfectly good sculpt available from the TV show, and that could have easily been, updated with new eyes, new hands, with, black deco, give her a copy of the Darkhold, call it a day. But let's look at another figure that was released as part of the line in multiple form factors, and that is Rinta, everyone's favorite green Minotaur. Are there other green Minotaurs out there? I don't know. But if there are, he is everyone's favorite. Now, it's interesting because this figure was released as the Build-A-Figure, the incentive to buy all of the figures. And the figure line, of course, included both movie and comic book characters like Sleepwalker and, etc., as well as movie figures like Wong. Finally got a Wong. All right, but when people are reviewing, talking about, and even selling the Rinta Build-A-Figure online, they sell all the parts, right? Or etc. You can go online and buy, legs or arms on eBay, etc. But it's interesting, very few of the auctions include his accessory. Because yes, sometimes Build-A-Figures get accessories. Bonebreaker, for example, has I think a gun, right? In the X-Men wave. So this magic lamp here, this little Aladdin lamp that Doctor Strange's astral form comes with, is part of Rinta. It's not part of Doctor Strange. But no way is this communicated. It's not communicated on packaging, and it definitely wasn't communicated in the content. And that is really interesting, because while Wanda wasn't allowed to be in the line, on the other hand, Rinta here was put in the line and was even given an accessory that in no way is associated with him. As far as people know, that magic lamp was just, Doctor Strange is, quote-unquote, magic, right? So there's no reason he can't have Aladdin's lamp. But if you look at some of the other releases of Rinta besides the Build-A-Figure, well, he comes with the lamp. He's holding it. So yes, this lamp accessory is for him. But you wouldn't know this because it's not called out on package. And more importantly, it's not in the movie. So interesting how some things held back and some things allowed are still completely contingent on what happens in the final product. And many of us have been waiting years and decades for a Rinta action figure. Okay, I actually never thought we'd get one. Although a comic book one would be really cool. Although he doesn't wear any clothes. It's weird. All right, well, you can blame good old coronavirus for this one. See, Multiverse of Madness, sorry, Freudian slip when you say one thing and mean your mother, was supposed to be originally released before the new Spider-Man movie, where Doctor Strange also sort of teams up with Spider-Man, or rather has, an extended cameo with Spider-Man. So because of COVID, these movies got flipped in release order, and additional pickup shots had to be done. You can definitely tell this in Doctor Strange when he's sitting around with America Chavez in the beginning talking about the Spider-Man movie that just happened. That was an insert shot that was done post-edit. So much of Doctor Strange wound up on the cutting room floor, partially because of this flipped release order and partially just runtime, etc., but all of those scenes with Rinta and why he's included heavily in almost every one of the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness toy lines, from Marvel Legends to Funko, he probably had a much bigger role and probably used that magic lamp. All right, so let's actually get back to Spider-Man and his toy line, because another thing that he was missing, much like Doctor Strange didn't have the main villain in his line, well, all of the Spider-Man lines that supported the new film, well, also missing all of the villains. You just got Spider-Man. And, they were allowed to have characters based on previous movies like Mysterio, and again, it's easy to throw a Doctor Strange in there, as well as the different suits like the Iron Spider, etc., etc. But even though they were in the trailers, and we pretty much had confirmed that we were going to get older Spider-Man villains from the Sony films, both the Sam Raimi ones and the later Mark Webb movies, well, in the trailer doesn't always count, because there was no Green Goblin, there was no Dr. Octopus. And, while people were mad that Andrew Garfield at first had to deny he was in the movie, I think they respected him in the end, knowing that he was contractually obligated to deny that. I mean, what are you going to do? That's what your boss says. And it's interesting the way the toy industry handled this, because while there was an embargo against the villains, they did put out some SKUs, such as re-releasing what was the single-carded Vulture figure and doing a deluxe release that included all of the Build-A-Wing parts that came with the original Homecoming wave. So you could get Vulture again, which I think a lot of people thought, oh, Vulture's back on the shelf. Maybe this means he's going to be one of the mysterious villains in the film. Although he did show up in Morbius, so I guess maybe there's a reason for him being on shelf too. But in addition to the villains, the line also lacked the other versions of Spider-Man, the Raimi and the Webb versions. So that Mark Webb, not Webb webbing. It's funny that the director was named Webb. Now, there's been rumors that we're going to be getting these figures as store exclusives later this fall, and maybe Comic-Con will confirm whether those rumors are true or not. But the fact that we weren't able to get both the villains and the other versions of Spider-Man from the previous films on shelf day and date with the movie is an interesting issue. But I think what's really fascinating is that what Marvel Cinematic Universe is doing, what the Marvel Cinematic Universe is doing, is it's making older toys relevant again. And that is really, really cool. Because for the most part, people want kind of the current content. And as more and more properties are rebooted, then there is usually only a desire to get the current iteration. And all of these toys that Toy Biz put out decades ago for the original Spider-Man movies, the trilogy and the twofer, the sequel movies, well, much like the X-Men films, which are now going to get rebooted and brought into the MCU, that makes a lot of these older toys irrelevant. And a lot of collectors are like, oh my gosh, I don't even need these anymore. But now that Marvel has introduced this concept of the multiverse, and that the multiverse includes all of the previous movies and content, I mean, heck, it probably includes direct-to-DVDs and comic books too, but that's really, really cool, because while these figures can't be out for movie release, they are available not just on eBay secondary market, but for those of us who were around when these films came out and bought these toys, now they're relevant again, and they can go on our MCU shelf. So it really is an amazing solution to this problem. When you have certain things that have to be held back, well, the multiverse now making everything that ever was on screen for Marvel relevant and part of the MCU, more or less. I mean, every live action thing at least. Well, I guess What If was animated. All right, I'm going down a rabbit hole. But, how great would it be if DC could do this? Because that would make things like all of your 89 Batman toys suddenly now relevant again. They're no longer an older version of Batman or a version you can get if you just happen to like that film, but it can now be part of your general DC collection. So that would be amazing, because, Batman has had more reboots than any superhero, and there are so many versions. And to learn that everything counts, that's really cool. So, here's to everything counting, and here's to the multiverse helping toys that can't be on shelf because of holdbacks being part of your collection because they were produced years ago. What a cool solution. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please do share it with others. It's the best way to show support for this channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the comment section, the next video, and at Acme Comics in Greensboro.